Unemployment numbers are in, and Du Bois County once again fared well. More on how well, plus Jasper Mayor Terry Seitz is tonight's guest on Monday with the Mayor, and Elmer Bramas and Adrian Engelberth join Bill Potter for another Meet the Candidates episode of Inform. All of that and much more is up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Hello, I'm Bradford Raths. We begin tonight with unemployment numbers statewide dropping, and Du Bois County just missed out on once again having the lowest state unemployment rate. Data released today by the Indiana Department of Workforce Development shows that Indiana's unemployment rate dipped down to 5.9% in March. That marks the lowest rate since July of 2008. The state unemployment rate has dropped by 2% over the last year alone, marking the third largest decline nationwide. The state's labor force also increased again in March for the sixth consecutive month. Officials say the state workforce has grown by more than 25,000 in the first quarter of 2014 alone. In all, Indiana added 3,200 private sector jobs in March. Since the low point of unemployment in Indiana, which was back in July of 2009, the state has added 215,500 private sector jobs, good for 8th in the nation. Now, locally, Du Bois County came in at a rate of 4.4%, trailing first place Hamilton County by just 1/10 of a percentage point. For other counties in our area, Daviess County was third lowest in the state at 4.5% unemployment. Martin County was at 5.5%, Pike County 5.7%, Perry 6%, Spencer 6.1%, Orange County 6.9%, and Crawford at 7.9%. Vermilion County once again had the state's highest unemployment rate. That came in at 9.8%. Indiana's unemployment rate is once again the lowest among nearby states. It's also 0.8 of a percentage point lower than the national average. Meanwhile, Jasper Chamber Director Nancy Eckerly says Du Bois County as a whole is in good shape.
It appears that there are some pickup among some of the companies around the area, so there seems to be jobs available in the various media sources. There's a lot of help wanted ads listed. So I think we're positioning ourselves in a very good spot right now as far as even recruiting people to come work here from other counties, and definitely employment for the people that live in our county.
Eckerly says continuing to get people to move to the county while still providing jobs for people living in other counties would be a big benefit in the future. The Huntingburg Police Department was recently honored with a grant. The department received $1,000 from the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. The grant money is part of the Rural Demonstration Project, or RDP, which is a project aimed at increasing seatbelt usage in rural areas. To be eligible, counties were selected based on a rate which was developed by using the county population and the number of car crash injuries due to folks not wearing a seatbelt over the last 5-year period. That rate also accounts for the observed rate at which folks wear their seatbelts. Huntingburg police say the enforcement period began on Friday and it concludes on Thursday, May the 8th. Now, the grant will allow the department to spend an extra 45 hours on seatbelt law enforcement between now and May the 8th. The extra patrols will be done at various times and locations across Huntingburg, though the department will mainly focus on locations where accidents frequently happen. They will also focus on locations where residents have complained about drivers speeding. Questions on seatbelt and/or child restraint regulations may be directed to the Huntingburg Police Department at 683-4111. Staying in Huntingburg, another weekend, another event. The busy month of April continued this past weekend with the Huntingburg Kiwanis Car Show held along 4th Street. Cars ranging anywhere from old-fashioned to modern to anything in between were part of this year's event. Awards were given out at 1 p.m. for the top 35 cars, and 10 other awards were also handed out. This year marked the 16th year of the car show, and it ran from 8 a.m. till 3 p.m. on Saturday. After months of speculation, the Ivy Tech campus in Tell City will likely avoid closure after all. Officials with the community college say they will be combining the Southwest region, comprised of the Tell City and Evansville campuses, with the Wabash Valley and Terre Haute region. The newly consolidated region will be run by a single chancellor, and that person would be hired at a later date. The merger with the Terre Haute region marks a slight change of course for the Tell City campus. Campus Director Sherry Flynn says the Tell City site had been set to merge with the Bloomington region following the retirement of Chancellor John Weichart. However, the Ivy Tech Board of Trustees says it will be revising its search for the next chancellor of the Bloomington region, thus halting any potential mergers. Now, the threat of closure for the Tell City campus began back in November when the trustees took the idea under consideration due to budget shortfalls. The State Budget Committee previously pegged the deficit at $78 million. The committee approved $63 million in expansion projects for the Anderson, Bloomington, and Indianapolis Ivy Tech campuses last year. In all, the restructured Ivy Tech will have 10 chancellors statewide focused on regional issues, while each of the 20 campus sites will have a campus president who will build relationships within the communities. The Richmond and East Central regions, along with the Columbus and Southeast regions, have already merged. Those mergers were completed earlier this year. Finally this evening, an Ohio teen was saved from drowning at an Orange County resort over the weekend, thanks to some quick thinking by a couple of bystanders. Indiana conservation officers say just before 9 o'clock last night, 13-year-old Riley Saylor of Ohio City was swimming with his family at the pool at Spring Mill State Park Inn near Mitchell when he was found at the bottom of the pool. 30-year-old Sarah Rumschlag, Saylor's cousin, went into the bottom of the pool and brought Saylor to the surface. A second bystander, Ann Lott of Madison, Alabama, assisted after she saw Rumschlag struggling to bring Saylor to the surface. Shelley Miller, an off-duty nurse from Roanoke, then began administering CPR with the help of witness Amy Crouch, who is a Fort Wayne resident. Conservation officers say Saylor was partially revived by the CPR before he was taken to IU Health Bloomington Hospital. He then made a full recovery at the hospital, according to conservation officers. Officers say the actions of all involved likely saved a life and should be recognized. The SEALS Ambulance Service and Marion Township first responders also assisted. All right, coming up after the break, Jasper Mayor Terry Seitz joins me for this week's edition of Monday with the Mayor, plus your local forecast, sports with Kurt Gooksell, and Inform featuring Elmer Bromus and Adrian Engelbarth. That's all up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Local people watching local people.